Now,
What?
with that, let me call this meeting to order. I'm going to just switch into the agenda for us. So the second item on the agenda is to amend if necessary and then accept the agenda. I do have one amendment, Carol. This I guess it would be under new business, but actually my preference would be to have it right up front, like maybe behind number 3, which is approve the minutes. I would like to have an item called Commissioner Resignation.
Mm-hmm.
We can just do that right up front.
Commission resignation?
Commissioner Resignation.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Any further amendments?
No.
All right. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Wendy, Melissa seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda.
Nobody ever votes against them.
Nobody ever votes against accepting the agenda, but it probably could happen. So just in the interest of good form, let's move on to the next item, which is to review, amend if necessary, and then approve the minutes of our last regular meeting in November. Does anyone have any amendments to those minutes? And if not, I'll entertain a motion. Melissa,
I second. Quite perfect minutes.
seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries and the minutes, the draft minutes are approved. Thank you, Yos, as always, for taking the minutes. So new item 3A or 4, whichever you decide to do, Yos, in your recording of these minutes. I wanted to share with you that unfortunately, Donna Summers has resigned her position as an alternate on the commission. I think that having to meet by Zoom was a significant hurdle for her. I know that she expressed some frustration with that. And although, in our email exchange, I did encourage her to stay on and, ask for her ideas about how to, how to overcome the hurdle of Zoom, or whether she just wanted to take a break. I think that it was, I think that the frustration with Zoom and her inability to attend the meetings and really not really knowing when we would resume in person, just, to her, it was a good time to make a break. So
Okay.
we are, if you would like, I would like to write her a card on behalf of the commission, thanking her for her
Yes.
service.
Mhm.
And
Yes, indeed.
that we'll miss her, and we'll miss Honey, and we will. I'm sure see her around town. But given now that we're down a member, I kind of want to task you to put on your thinking caps and talk to people who you think might be good. And let's see if we can't round out the commission a little bit more. Melissa, you're muted. Sorry.
So was Donna still a alternate?
She
We're
was
down 2. We're down 2 alternates, right?
We were always, we have been.
Melissa, are you full member?
I was made a full member a while ago.
Okay.
And then I just got a text from Lori. I asked her if she was coming to the meeting tonight, and she said no. She would like to help us going forward, but she would prefer not to be on the correspondence back and forth and meeting information and whatnot.
Okay.
So no minutes either? She Zitten
didn't
ze
hear
op
what you said,
minuutzijde?
I don't think
She does
so.
not want to be on the correspondence. She's not going to come to the meetings, but she will do whatever we want her help to do.
So
And
when I
stay
send the
involved
meeting
as
notice,
friendly.
so when I send the meeting notices from now on, I don't send it to her. She's probably on just email overload.
She
Doesn't-
is. She's on Zoom overload, email overload, and she's feeling her mother's not well. So,
Well, I guess we need to send a note to her too, thanking.
No, I don't know.
she's not a member.
No,
so
she's not resigning. I mean, it's not,
No, I know, but just that we hear what she's saying and, okay, well,
I
we
think a
can send
quick
her-
email saying of appreciation would be absolutely from all of us. We always, I mean, I do appreciate her knowledge base and support whenever we have asked, and I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Okay, so we can do that. You know, I do, like Carol, think that this is not goodbye for Lori, and
so it's a
it-
thank you, but not a goodbye kind of thing, right?
Yes.
it will fall
Exactly.
on us to think about how to affirmatively engage her, you know, I mean, and without overloading her, but I think that, you know, it'll require a little bit more thought on our part and, you know, in terms of when we think she can be helpful, how we can reach out and make it easy for her and, you know,
Agreed. I
So-
think it's been over a year since she's attended a meeting, and we probably should have had the conversation and said, how can we make this easier for you sooner? But whatever. It's fine.
okay. All right, so moving along, we're gonna skip for the moment the treasurer's report. If anyone's got Liddy by text or could, you know, could just make a, you know, a quick offline phone call, I'm hoping that she knew that it was at 6:30 and didn't.
I think she knew that. I think she's just maybe forgotten.
I'm gonna
Melissa, are
text her.
you're gonna text her? Great.
I'll text her.
Okay, so we will do the treasurer's report when and if she joins. I don't think there were any expenditures during this time. All right, so the next item on the agenda is public comment. And so let me provide this opportunity for, you know, for our public member of the public attending to make a comment if that's desired.
sure.
Hi, no, I'm just being nosy and I wanted to see what you were going to talk about when you got down to the culvert initiative. And also the being really super nosy about the letter to John Kaminsky because nobody else has seemed to want to do anything about that. So,
Okay, well, we are not going to chalk that up to nosiness, Donna. We invite you to speak when we get down to the part about the culvert, since you were there. I'm eager to hear about that as well. And so anyway, thanks. Thanks for
okay.
letting us know that, and we'll be back to you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, so moving into old business. I'm going to suggest that we might want to, in the future, start talking about RR&R in terms of waste management instead of reduce, reuse, recycling. I attended the report out of the, whatever it is, CCSS, whatever the hold on, let me get the acronym. The report out of the Coalition for Sustainable Materials Management today, and I will provide some notes on that. But I think that, you know, just generally speaking, this topic has kind of expanded beyond, way beyond recycling, and is not more
I
about
guess.
waste management.
Got it.
So number one, the organics and composting initiative. We don't have Jean with us tonight, and actually she did just send an email I saw come over my screen that she's attending to kind of last minute storm preparation details, which I, you know, would expect she would be. So I don't have any update on organics. I suspect that, that the idea of the pricing of it and all of that hasn't been quite worked out yet. But
And the survey, I guess, is not happening yet either, as far as you know.
as far as I know, no. But kind of moving on to the next item, which is the Connecticut Coalition for Sustainable Materials. So, again, I have to really admire the momentum that these governors' councils have had. The one on climate change has been really inspirational, but this one on materials management is also shaping up to be, pretty great in terms of the coordination between the different moving pieces. And so today's meeting, which was from 1 to 3, was really a report out from the 4 different working groups in that initiative. Those are EPR, which stands for Extended Producer Responsibility, Food Waste, Recycling, and unit-based pricing. And it was really interesting to hear about how all of those things really interact and how addressing all of them is going to help with the ability to address any of them. And so, basically, just to give a good example of that, having a food waste composting program in place is going to enable people who might feel put upon to have a unit-based pricing program that charges them per pound of their trash, that if you have unit-based pricing and you're feeling stressed because it's now costing you more to throw out your trash, having a food waste recycling program that at the same time incentivizes you to remove food waste and do the composting and not put it in regular trash is going to help, come to terms with the idea of unit-based pricing. It'll be less expensive for you to participate in the food waste composting program. So there's just a lot of moving pieces, but they do seem to be very interrelated.
Connie, can I ask a question about the food waste? Somebody was mentioning to me today how she dealt with food waste, and it was a very primitive but effective way. I mean, she keeps a little wooden tub. This is Zan Charity, and everything goes in there, and she disposes of it that way. I wonder if we could do, if there's any kind of a, like we had a compost bin years ago, if there's any kind of small sink-sized compost container that could be given out at the start of this program.
It comes
So the
with
peop-
that.
Yeah, they do. Some of the programs do that. They issue you, when you subscribe to it, they issue you the bin that you collected in.
Oh, very good.
When Jen came and explained it to us, and when Jean explained it again, there were 2 bins. There's a home bin and then a travel bin that goes in, like, that you can put in your car to bring it to the transfer station. I thought it was very well thought out in that regard.
And who pays for that? The giveaways?
That's part of the cost of the program, and there is a cost associated with the program.
Oh,
One of the places
Okay.
that Jen Heaton Jones put it into place had it at no cost to the consumer. They had a grant that underwrote the, all of the materials, and but different towns do it in different ways.
Right. When I said there's a cost to the program, I mean there's a cost to run the program. How the consumer pays or how the town pays, that's all to be determined. But there is a cost associated with the program.
Has there been more talk about clear bags for garbage? I mean,
No.
for
Actually did not come up today at all. I would have anticipated maybe that coming up in the discussion about recycling. But anyway, let me kind of go over what
Okay.
these groups
Okay.
were thinking about, and they were reviewing some of the recommendations that they came up with, but there will be a period, there will be a time when they issue a report, and then there'll be some opportunity for public comment. But so just in the order that they presented, extended producer responsibility is a way of kind of reassigning some of the externalized costs based on the packaging that producers tend to use, back on that producer. And an example of that is with the recycling of tires or paint cans. Actually, tires they didn't get to yet, but paint, mattresses. It is a way of having producers, reassume some of the responsibility for the cost, knowing that they are putting these products out there for us to consume, and that there isn't a really that municipalities or consumers are the ones that are then taxed with the disposal of these difficult to dispose of products. So anyway, with extended producer responsibility in 2021, this work group thought that they would start with tires and what they called gas cylinders, which I think is propane tanks, but maybe more than that too. But they thought that these were probably some of the easiest low-hanging fruit to pick off with legislative action. And so we might expect to hear more of that in 2021, and and of course be supportive of it and work as Wendy has started to do effectively with Maria Horn to help make our voices heard in the state capitol.
Now,
Then-
would this be strictly a statewide initiative? Can this be done by individual states without federal laws?
Particular meeting or format or whatever, the charge of the folks that are working on this is to do this for Connecticut. It's a state-led effort, and it comes out of deep. And Katie Dykes has been on every call, and she's very engaged in this. I think she is motivated to make something good happen for the state of Connecticut. And she went over why in the beginning, because she kind of she led the lead up to these work groups reporting out. And the why is because, like, in terms of our landfills, we'll be at capacity before 2026. There is no way to get rid of all the trash that we produce in the state of Connecticut. And we are on we're basically on a collision course unless we do much, much better. And so, for her, it's about economics. It's about the cost of processing this trash, but also out of a real recognition that, it might not even be, eventually it's not even going to be a matter of cost. It's just going to be like, where can we put what we are producing in terms of our waste? So that was EPR. It was pretty straightforward. They said in 2022, they'd like to tackle other household hazardous waste, things that are difficult to, to dispose of. And so I don't really know where they're going to go, what would be the most natural, but let's see where they can get to with the tires and the gas.
I think they ought to put Amazon on the list. The numbers of cartons that they
Right now, that's still considered a recyclable, but packaging, traditionally PR is all about packaging, and that includes wrap, and that includes cardboard, and that includes, the plastic that your shampoo comes in, and all of those things. So this is not, they weren't really taking that up because those things are supposed to be recyclable right now, but absolutely, you're right, Wendy.
Connie, how many people were at the meeting, and how many different towns were represented, more or less? Is it all of Connecticut?
It's all of Connecticut. I didn't notice how many towns were represented because I put on my headphones and I actually took a walk around and around the house just to get up and move. But I did notice that more than 160 people were on the call.
Really? Okay.
Including Rick Lynn from the COG, which I think is too, because we do get so fragmented in our little towns. And they talked a lot about towns joining together in, some of their initiatives to cut costs and to make it easier in general. So the food waste one was really interesting. The presenter began by showing that diagram that we looked at our last meeting, kind of just reorienting people to be thinking about food waste not so much as an organics collection and a composting program, but that would be kind of like RRR. By the time you get around to composting it, that is the last possible thing that you could do. So, reminding people that the first, in the pyramid, the hierarchical pyramid of what to do with food waste, the first thing you want to do is reduce food waste altogether. Then you want to maybe divert food waste for animal feed. Then you want to think about, I'm forgetting, oh, no. So first it's reduce, then it's like feed it to, to people. Can you redistribute it in food banks or whatever? Then it's, can it be animal feed? And then finally it goes to organics processing. So they were talking about whether, they were talking about those curbside municipal programs. They were talking about, incentives that could maybe induce more people to develop those anaerobic digesters. So like something that would help with the commercial development of processors, because right now it's like you're creating the demand and you want to make sure that there's someone there to service the demand. And so some of their ideas were around, lowering the threshold at which point commercial producers like groceries and restaurants would have to, send back their unused food for processing in an anaerobic digester. They were talking about whether a particular law that allows for farms to have small anaerobic digesters for their own waste could be tweaked in order to allow those farms to accept small scale loads of food waste. They were talking about whether, like the recycling laws that mandate people to separate their recyclables from the regular trash, whether whether it would help to have, a matching legislation that required people to separate their food waste. And so
would this be an income stream for the farm then? For them to take town?
I mean, potentially, I don't really know the economics of that, and they really didn't that far.
I mean, I would think that small scale anaerobic digesters would be a wonderful industry that could be spread around every town.
That would potentially, a company that picks up food waste and delivers it, because the delivery seems to be one of the hurdles. So there's a lot that could be done. And what these folks were talking about was more, how do we at a statewide level incent, more of this activity, and how do we develop the capacity to treat food waste? But again, that is the very bottom of the pyramid. So that had me thinking about wackadoodle ideas about whether or not food could actually be recycled into food. So nobody said anything about that at today's meeting, but with the advances in technology that are letting people build vegetarian meat substitutes and do really interesting things with food, I wouldn't be surprised in the future if we were able to process our food waste into something that was edible for humans. And that, to me, I mean, when you talk about diverting excess food for animal feed, we're living in an environment where we're trying really hard to cut back on the animals that we eat, because we know that it's unsustainable to, you know, to keep the amount of meat in the diet that we have grown to, you know, to accommodate in the United States. So to me, just saying we're going to feed it all to pigs and cows is, that's not really going to solve our climate problem. Anyway, moving
But
on.
in the short term, like getting away sort of like from the philosophical whole picture of it. In the short term, we left off with Jean last month that we were hoping to have a committee established that would really move ahead with exploring the different options for our organics and seeing if we really could get a program going. And I'm not sure what the next step on that would be. I mean, it would be good if Jean would be the one to really spearhead that committee and get people on that committee. You know, we would all be involved, but
Right. Well, until Jean says either to us, can you figure this out and report back to me, or says, I'm going to spearhead that committee and will you be part of it, then it doesn't really seem like there's very much we can do.
okay. But I think we last month were in agreement that we wanted to pursue it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So two more report outs, and one of them is very, very short. Recycling wise, that particular work group was talking about the bottle bill and modifications that could help with recycling of beverage containers and potentially even, you know, a greatly expanded number of containers, you know, of single-use type containers that, you know, need to be removed from the waste stream. They were talking about this groundbreaking program in Oregon, but thought that it was probably too progressive to take on in the state of Connecticut. You know, what with the difficulty of passing bottle bill modifications, they just thought, you know, let's just do what we can to improve that legislation bit by bit.
What is the opposition to that? I mean, is there really opposition, or is it just a matter of the bill just working its way through the channels?
I don't really know. I mean, you know what? I don't know the backstory to that. I mean, I know that the effort has been to, you know, get the deposit on like wine bottles and milk cartons.
We're missing you at the Conservation Commission. Yes, can you get on? Okay, just got Liddy.
Okay.
Just
Anyway,
getting on.
I don't really know. I just know that it seems to be an issue. They are talking about legislation this year, 2021, to ban PFAs. So remove some of those styrofoam containers from food service, you know, like food producers in the state of Connecticut. They talked about looking at performance standards for recyclable materials. So that would be on the purchasing side. You know, creating incentives, and so carrot and stick for purchasers of products unless they had a certain amount of recycled content. So it's like a way of driving the market for more recycling and for products using recycled products. Hold on, here comes Liddy. They talked about this right to repair legislation, which was something new to me. It was really interesting. It was this idea that, you know, when you buy something, you should have the ability to repair it. And so, you know, it penalizes producers that produce these products that you then, you know, once it breaks, you have to get rid of it and get a new one, which is always my issue with things like phones and computers. But I think they were talking more along the lines of like your automobiles and stuff. So like when you create something, you also have to create enough of the capacity in whether that be products or know-how or repair shops or whatever, so that so that people can repair it. You know, they had many.
They talk about plastics recycling.
They
and
did.
how that,
Mention that, so they also said on the municipal side, there's so much more that municipalities could be doing to enforce and implement the laws that we already have and the programs that we already have. So they really tasked municipalities with participating in like the RAP program, with having swap shops available at their transfer stations. They talked about the program in Connecticut schools called Greenleaf, and really just, encouraging municipalities to go ahead and engage in, some of the good things that have already been put in place. They also said that municipalities should all be making sure that on their main streets, they have recycling containers, because people who buy single-use beverages like water bottles and whatever, they buy them and they walk around with them. Like, the stuff that you buy that you use in your home, you take out a glass and whatever, but there's really a need to, when you're walking around with your water bottle, to be able to dispose of it properly. So I, kind of gave us a little pat on the back for that. So the last thing is the unit-based pricing. I'm sorry this took so long. But that was really, no recommendations, more an acknowledgement of how tricky something like this is to implement in a municipality, because it is just hated by people who are used to throwing away whatever they produce. All of a sudden, the idea that you have to weigh the garbage and take a certain amount, pay for the magnitude of what you produce, even though it makes logical sense, it's very hard to get one of those going. So I suspect that we'll hear more, but what I heard today was more of a warning of, make sure you know what you're doing before you decide to try and put that forward. There's going to
are
be
there any towns in Connecticut that have done it already and that reported on their experiences?
I didn't catch which ones were doing it. I did catch, they used the case study of, I think it was West Hartford, tried to do it and it failed miserably because there was so much opposition from the residents. There's going to be a survey to the people that attended, and I hope to pass it along to you. Basically, the meeting ended saying, these are a ton of great recommendations. Wouldn't it be great if we could do them all? There's not enough money to do them all. We need, we want your opinion on what's the priority. So I will hopefully pass that along. I'm not really sure what the format of the survey will be, but it would be good if we could, if we could all put in our faves.
I have the distinct impression that people aren't even doing the basic separations. I look after a house next door here when folks go off to Florida, and they left me 3 bags of garbage, or trash, and which I volunteered to take care of. It's the same old stuff. They throw in the Coke cans in with the paper, and then, and I've lectured them so many times about this. I don't know what we can do other than these clear plastic bags that will reveal how bad this is. It's, you just don't want to be a scold all the time, but if well-intentioned people can't get that straight, I don't know what else we can do, except charge them plenty for what they dump. But even there, money is no issue for them.
So many of the presenters today said, not that, they said the opposite. They said consumers really want to do the right thing. They care about the environment. They want to recycle and be successful. They are discouraged, like we have been, by the setbacks, by the lack of information about what's working and what's not. They kind of want to do the right thing, but they definitely don't want to do something that ends up being counterproductive. And so while it's very interesting to hear about all of this and kind of exciting to think about what's coming down the pike in terms of our commission and what we can do, you know, I just keep coming back to the educational aspect of all of this.
Yeah.
You know, when we do get some direction on what it is that Kent and similar towns are going to do, you know, really helping to roll that information out so that people are aware.
Okay, well, I'll just keep nagging next door.
Be a school, Wendy, just do it.
And Wendy, they could just do curbside trash pickup and you wouldn't see what they were doing anyway. So,
I know, but what we're trying to do is get people to behave better.
but just think of how many people just hide it away in curbside and we never even know. Like,
Well, yeah, but it's our job to
Yeah.
try to reduce that number by whatever means. We just have to figure out what's the key to getting them to do the right thing. But
So moving on to the agenda, sorry,
our education in our own schools is really beneficial, but the people you're speaking of don't have students in our local
Yeah,
schools. They're
no.
weekenders. They're coming in, and you know how to
Yeah.
reach them.
they don't
We're not
have
even reaching
children,
them
they
for other
just don't see the big picture. Yeah.
so pay as you throw programs though do help in that regard in some ways. I mean, the example given during today's meeting was that, you know, was kind of the converse. They were saying, you know, sometimes people who are only around for the weekends, you know, they create so little garbage and then they still have to pay to belong to the transfer station. And, you know, should it really be the same, you know, them versus like another consumer that creates like 3 times as much garbage? But I think that you know, that instead of that, quite often, you know, some people who might not have the time to be thoughtful about separating their garbage are ending up creating more garbage you know, and so this is a way to even the playing field in some ways. If, you know, if there are people who are just throwing all their garbage into the regular trash, you know, instead of separating, then it'll be heavier and they'll end up paying more. And maybe that helps to recapture some of the additional costs to the municipality of processing and disposing of that garbage.
You know, one thing that has always struck me as strange is that all the big garbage containers are bigger than the recycling containers. And it should really be the other way around. That would send the message to people that recycle more and throw less in the garbage.
I think it's going to take a long time. I mean, I do think that there's going to be a correction, but we're coming out of a place that for decades, you know, conspicuous consumption was the way to go. You know, it was admired, and we're paying for it now. So anyway, so next on the agenda is the Regional Recycling Task Force, and I don't have an update. I missed that meeting. So that brings us to the discussion about the hiking guide. Actually, before we do that, though, Liddy, should we go back to the treasurer's report?
Sure. Sorry about that. Treasurer's report is no change from last time. No expenses.
Have you been prompted?
Liddy,
for
did you get my bill for the Kakivik conference?
No, I don't think so, Joost. Did you send it to me?
I emailed you.
Let me look for it. I'm sorry. I will check, but I don't remember seeing it.
And I sent you a bill for that lunch for
Oh, right.
yeah, not a big amount, but
Okay. I will look for both of them. Sorry, I missed both of them. But I did ask the printers to reprint the trail books after making the changes.
right.
And they are in the process of doing so. I downloaded the Adobe program that you use to change PDFs because I didn't have that. So now I can futz with PDFs and fix the trail guide. So they're printing them. They're printing 70 of them. I'm going to send the invoice when I get it to the treasurer and have her pay it out of Kuga. And then whomever you decide should be paying for those 50 for the chamber, they can reimburse Kuga.
Good.
Okay. So I don't know what's happening with the chamber. Last time I talked to or emailed Hiram, I said that we were trying to figure out how to pay for it.
Did anyone reach out to Caitlin Lynch? She's the one that's in charge of this project.
Caitlin Lynch, is
Mhm.
she a member of the chamber?
She is, and she's the assistant head of school at Marvelwood.
I didn't know anything about her. I spoke to Hiram. He's the only one that I knew to talk to.
Yeah,
Do you
Caitlin's
want
in charge.
me to go ahead and do that? Because I suspect that, I mean, I'd really love to know more about, what else is going in the bags. And then, maybe no one has asked NCLC yet, whether or not they would, put in for this as well. I mean, there is some coordination that needs to be done.
Should the chamber be doing that or should we be doing that? It seems to me the chamber should.
I thought the bags were almost actually done. Like, the greenhouse brought their stuff up that's going into the bag. Daryl was asked to deliver the bags. Like, I'm just surprised how disjointed this feels. It's like a time is of the essence, I think.
Yeah, is this planned to go out around Christmas time? Is that the idea?
I think so. I think that
Okay.
Daryl's not home, so I can't ask him when it's going to get delivered, but he was asked to deliver it to each of the houses. So I
Goodness,
think
and
that I would
oh,
agree that Connie should contact Caitlin and see what stage this project is actually at.
But that doesn't make any sense. So that means that the bag doesn't have the book right now and it's going out. I
Like I
see.
said, that's my feeling, is that it's very disjointed and that we don't have the
All
up-to-date
right.
accurate.
But
Libby,
if the book
do you-
doesn't, if the book doesn't make this bag, if it's still a good idea and it's still something that the chamber should do about getting the new families to get the book. So it's
Well,
not, we'll have to just follow through how
But the
to have
books are
that
going to be
happen.
ready very soon, aren't they? Within a few days?
Yeah,
Somebody has to
Melissa,
drive over and get
can't
them.
you ask Daryl to wait with it till the books are ready?
I didn't hear what you said, Yost. You kind of went
And
in.
weren't we also going to add a note, Connie, about the Conservation Commission and the Kent Land Trust and the
We
note,
entered.
Well, this is
say
gonna be
whatever.
like a slip of paper that, said compliments of, and this is, how this initiative came about, and the book is published by the Conservation Commission, and the maps are additionally available on our website, and, and
do you want to print up 50 of
But we
those?
also
Connie?
suggested a paragraph each for the Conservation Commission, the Kent Land Trust, and we.
I don't know. Somehow less is more.
Right, I'm thinking that like something that you could read within 10 seconds.
Yeah. What you
Just
just
so
said,
people
Connie,
listen.
almost what you just said, Connie, almost summarized the whole thing.
Just put it on a piece of paper and
Well,
print them
why
up and we'll stick
why
them
not
in
put
the-
a Kent Land Trust of invitation to join and one from Weantadog? I mean, it's a perfect opportunity.
Right, well, I just want to, kind of go back to, I mean, if the purpose of this is to create a wonderful welcome from our town, then I think it is lovely to have this come out from the Chamber of Commerce and to have this message and this gift compliments of the Conservation Commission and the two land trusts that are responsible for maintaining, a bunch of the trails in the town.
Then Connie, you need to write something that says that.
To the chamber or to the,
to be put into the bags.
so just to, so just to get back, if that's the intent, then I think it's lovely to make the town look good in that way. I don't know, is there anything else coming from the town? Is that how they're using this offering? Or, what else is in the bag? I mean, that would be like, what's the purpose of this? And if it's not an opportunity to be a wonderful outreach and gift from the town, what I would suggest, and actually Wendy made this suggestion last month before this came up, is that, the Kent Land Trust is perfectly willing to purchase a book for all of these new families. And Wendy said, why don't you purchase a book for all of these new families and send it to them? And I said, good, let's do it, right? So, if it is not about a wonderful outreach, and if it instead is a marketing thing, then we could take a pass knowing that the information about our trails, which was the reason that we published the books to begin with, the information about our trails is going to get to the people anyway. They're all going to get a book, whether they get it in a bag or they get it from the Land Trust.
Yeah, but this also takes care of the delivery issue, since Daryl is already going to do that. I mean, it just seems like a nice package, but it's a little disjointed, as you said.
Thank you.
Right. I mean, it seems a little rushed. It seems like the train has left the station.
Okay.
I think that I would
Well,
like,
if Daryl is the one who's spreading them around, Melissa, you can ask Daryl to wait a week till the
no,
books
no,
are-
I can't. This is something Daryl is doing on behalf of the greenhouse, and I'm not
Oh,
Daryl to do
Oh.
that. But I think that I would be in favor of Connie reaching out to Caitlin and having a conversation, and whether it comes from the Conservation Commission or the Land Trust, the information, the ultimate goal of getting the information into these new people's hands, it's going to happen either way. And whether it goes into the bag or it goes separate, it actually might get some more attention if it goes in a manila envelope and gets mailed to each family from the Land Trust. And as the Conservation Commission, we just want these people to know what great things are happening in Kent and what great resources are available to them. So I don't think it's
Hey
that big a
guys,
deal.
why don't I just give me the contact information for Caitlin? And why don't I just get a hold of her and find out what's happening with the bags when they're going and what's in them, and whether or not they would delay their delivery until we could stuff 50 books in.
do you know when those will be
The
ready?
answer- No, I don't. I wasn't pushing them too hard, but I can. What was I going to say? If that doesn't work, then Land Trust can send them out.
But the Land Trust would be sending them out, but then it wouldn't appear that there's this cooperation between Weontonek, I shouldn't use the old name, because I don't have the new name familiar yet, and the Conservation Commission. Then it appears like it's coming just from the Land Trust. And I
That's
really
true.
like the idea of the three groups
I do
really
too. Carol-
combining, because we have the same mission. And my first choice would be if we can get it into the bags and have them take care of it for us. And I think the letter from Connie, you almost have it written in your head of what would go in there, and that's simple. And
Carol, I totally agree with you. And what I'm just saying is, let's do it that way. But if the Land Trust, if the chamber can't hold off long enough for me to get the books in, then they're going to have to go out without it, in which case to get it to people.
then we'll go to Plan B. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I would like to suggest, if you all are for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know who Caitlin is, and I don't know how to get a hold of her.
My sense is that the chamber does not really think about the nonprofit members, its nonprofit members, as being part of this initiative.
That's okay. That's okay. That's
You know-
okay. How do I get a hold of Caitlin?
I think
Is it
Marvel
Mar-
has
Marvel
probably
would-
already sent you her email,
Marvelwood did?
right? Melissa, you have her email? I think I do too.
I sent it to Liddy.
You did,
I
just
already
now? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, great. I will be in touch with her tomorrow morning, assuming that she's home.
She's not. She's in Delaware.
But is she checking email?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, okay, I think that's a good plan. I mean, the only other thing that I guess I didn't put on the agenda specifically, and we could put it on for next month, but what Melissa had said was quite important. At some point, we do need to define what the Cougar Fund is and how that money gets spent. And I don't think we should go into that tonight, but so why don't I put that on for next month so we can start thinking of that. You know, just the idea of going forward, knowing what that money is and how it gets used, so that it's kind of more official.
Sounds good.
That's really important.
Agreed.
You can add that under the treasurer's report heading, maybe?
No, it's gonna be a line on its own. It's going to actually be writing.
I'll put it on next month's agenda as something that we
Yeah.
start to discuss. But it would be, no, actually it would go, I'll put it under the treasurer's report.
Because
As-
I will have presumably spent money out of the Cougar, and we'll be talking about the Cougar.
Okay,
All right?
good.
Does that need a motion or a vote or anything like that?
No.
Good. But what I will do, though, as soon as I've talked to Caitlin and found out what the chamber has in mind, I will email all of you about it.
Mhm.
Good, thank you.
I think that's good because there will be, I mean, the Cougar Fund will will cover the expenses for printing, but we're expecting to recoup some of that cost. And so depending on what Caitlin says, you know, we will figure out what the recoupment will be.
I mean, the amount that we would be chipping in, if it's divided 3 ways, is really small. So, you know, it's not like a big chunk that's, all right, well, let's see what happens.
They're $9 a book, 50 books, split 3 ways, not a big deal.
Yeah,
$150 a person.
yeah, so that doesn't red flag anywhere.
Right, yeah, that's a pizza dinner.
Goodness, that's expensive
What kind
pizza.
of pizza do you eat, Wendy?
No, it's
Can we move ahead a little bit?
she's
Yes.
feeding 12 people, something like that. Okay, anyway.
So we are at the update on the Green Bank, which is Monday.
Oh, well, the Greenback situation is confused like so many things. When I learned that only one of our 7 buildings, I guess 6 buildings, even made the cut after they'd done all this investigation, and
Ridiculous.
she said, oh, well, they don't use enough electricity. She said, what? And then I found out that Sharon was applying under another program. And so I went back to her and I said, why didn't you tell us about this virtual net metering gizmo? And she said, well, I think they're almost out of money. And she said, and I don't know much about that, but I really didn't appreciate the fact that we hadn't been informed that there should have been an alternative. But anyway, Kent Center School they had a meeting. We all had a meeting on Monday morning. Everybody sounded, they haven't got back to me, but I think Marty Lindemeyer and Dana Slaughter, et cetera, and Bill Hurley, he's the building manager. They all
And they
sounded
said-
like they were interested. And
And they said they were going to sign a letter of intent, which would start the process.
yeah, and they were also, there's a small bonus or a reduction in cost based on how many towns in a region might be doing the same thing at the same time. So he was going to go make some calls around Litchfield County to see who else what other schools or the high school would be interested in looking into this. So we'll see about that. But I was really frustrated. So I wrote off to Maria Horn and said, you know, I can't believe the state of Connecticut, which is so interested in saving energy and in being one of the leaders in solar. I said, I can't believe that there's no way to finance virtual net metering, which makes nothing but good sense for a town where nobody uses, except the school uses over 50 kilowatts. So she said, Maria replied that she was going into a meeting shortly and would look into that. I said, you know, the legislature should be absolutely supportive of this. And she didn't seem to know about it. So we'll see where that goes. But meanwhile, I'm trying to find out how we get on the front of the list for virtual net metering, if there is any money in 2021. But the school will be, the thing will go ahead. I guess the actual installation may not be till 2022, but much of the work will be done in 2021, I think. And this will work in nicely with the schedule for the redoing of the roofs. And fortunately, they have 2 roof sections that are already in good order. And that's where the solar arrays will be, up on the roof of the newest part of the buildings. So that's good. And I at one point I asked what the cost to the school. I forget, it's in the 30,000s, I think. But they don't pay for it. I shouldn't say the cost to the school, it's the cost to the program. But if they were to go out and buy it on their own, he said, and Liddy, were you listening to that part of the conversation? Were you there? Did he say 220,000? He threw out some number that just staggered me.
Wait,
Am I-
Lydia, you're muted.
Lydia, you're on mute.
The dog was barking.
Oh.
Sorry.
Did Marty say, or did the Green Bank person say that a cost if you went out and did this on your own would be up for 220 some thousand?
Yes, he did. He did. I
I-
didn't understand the justification for it, but that's what he said.
Well, one of the things she said is there's just a whole lot of advantages that an independent applicant
Tax-
can't.
tax
advantages. That
that
they
the
couldn't-
school couldn't, the town can't get those, but this, whatever it's called, can get the tax
Yeah.
advantages and therefore sort of passes the savings on to us.
Yeah. So anyway, things are happening, not as
But
not as smoothly as I'd hoped, but they're happening.
Wendy, it seemed to me that the net metering program was a different, it wasn't the same Green Bank
No,
supply.
that's right.
It's something called MA. something
No,
or other.
they're both called Municipal Assistance Program, MAP, but it's a different one. Nobody ever clarified that, I think, because they're kind of working at cross purposes, which wouldn't be the first time.
So now I
but-
wondered if we shouldn't pursue that on our own.
No, that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to find out. So
Okay.
but Emily Basham has been no help in telling me who to call or, you know, how to get aboard. But I am going to call the people up in Sharon because they were supposedly having a meeting with this group to find out about virtual net metering. The way that works is the town erects one large array. One building is theoretically the primary owner or the town, but they can then choose beneficiaries so that other buildings can get the credits. It's a complicated thing, but it seems worth investigating, and I am doing that.
Wendy, did you notice that Marvelwood broke ground for solar this past week?
I knew that they were doing that because I contacted them when I started this to see if we could pull in some private schools as well. But they said they'd already made a deal.
They broke ground this week for that project.
Good.
Wendy, did you find out why they did all the work of researching all the buildings when they
No.
should have known that they were less than 50?
I mean, it's
kilowatts?
just ridiculous. I
Doesn't
mean,
make
here were
sense.
buildings that were using 20 and 30 kilowatts per whatever. And they knew that. I had sent them all the information. But when the stuff came back, they said, oh, but they don't spend, they need to be 50 at least. Well, the Kent Center School is more like 140 or something. It's a big user, but the others were, even the firehouse was under, so they've got a perfect location.
But they're wasting their time and the
Exactly.
consultants' time?
Who can explain it? I didn't want to get nasty because I wanted the school thing to work out, but I thought, you guys are a bunch of jerks. Why did you do that? You know, he went around to every building. He took pictures of every installation board, electrical panel. He measured roofs. He did this, that, and the other thing. And then they come back with this simple report that 6 out of the 7 buildings didn't qualify. I can't explain it.
Mhm.
Annoying.
Annoying, but still moving forward. So thank you. Let's move on to the.
Well, did I make the point? I hope Maria is going to follow up with this, because the legislature, if they put some more money into this program, and with the Democrats taking over in Washington, this would be, right in line with what we're hoping to do. And by the way, did you see that Gina McCarthy, our former EPA, the state EPA person, is now working for the
Biden.
administration?
That's great. So Melissa, maybe would this be a good moment to just share what committees Maria got on, and I think that will influence whether or not she actually does follow up on this.
Well, I think she will follow up on it. She's the chairperson of public safety, which is pretty awesome, but that's not a committee that she was on in the past. And then she's continuing on with environment and energy and technology. So
isn't she also on appropriations?
No, she dropped off of she wasn't assigned to appropriations for this term because she's a chairperson. They usually try only 3.
Okay.
They want her on 3 terms.
I thought appropriations would have been a perfect place.
Yeah, we want them to fund it.
Yeah, I think that between environmental and energy and technology, though, you've got a pretty good listening ear for that. And she is aware that she owes you an email back. So.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to the cell tower. It's in the agenda. So you all know that the Siting Council did issue their decision approving the construction of a cell tower, and they chose the Richards Road location. There's a link to the article that was in the Republican American. This was discussed in the select board's recent meeting. One of the things that they are deliberating right now is whether or not to join or to, start their own appeal from the decision. To me, it seems quite likely that the neighbors groups will appeal. And so the town, may or may not join in that appeal as well. We're looking at the prospective legal costs for that. I who have a hard time keeping my mouth shut on select board meetings, which is maybe not appropriate, did kind of, suggest again, that as the town gets to the point where it is, again, looking at its POCD, in advance of its POCD update, that we might consider doing a feasibility study, and looking at what the need was for emergency services connectivity in town, and what the maximal places would be for infrastructure. Well done. We're not near done yet. I'm sorry. Cook it without me.
The Siting Council in their decision didn't seem to take our plan of conservation and development or the zoning regulations into, they didn't even mention it anymore. It didn't seem to be important to them at all. They just said there was a need for the tower and there's no serious environmental concerns, so do it. Regardless of what we say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was everyone's expectation though. So, it's a race with time now to see if, a better plan. If somebody invents better technology, during the pendency of an appeal. But I have to think that it would still be easier to fight these things in the future if we had a better idea of what we as a community want, and where it would make the most sense to put infrastructure as opposed to just being at the whim of corporate interests.
Just can I interrupt for 1 second? We talked, Planning and Zoning Commission did talk about the Plan of Conservation and Development at its last meeting. We're going to start going through chapter by chapter, trying to determine how many changes or if changes need to be made. And we're going to be sending out an email to all of the commissions and groups that could possibly have something that they would like to add to the Plan of Conservation and Development. So, you guys will certainly have an opportunity to add anything that you want, or at least to make proposals and then have a discussion with the Planning and Zoning Commission as we move forward, because that's due again in 2022. So we're going to start working on it. I think I have it on the agenda for January.
Good.
Thanks, Donna. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think it was on any of our radar when the POCD was redone the last time. I can't remember talking about it. And, now.
Oh,
now
we did talk about it. We talked about it a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Thought
Way back, way
previously.
back.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
why didn't we make an effort to get it into the POCD? Okay, so we will not miss.
Well,
our
I mean, this
chance.
item we didn't talk about, but yeah.
That's what I mean. I didn't mean we didn't talk about
Okay.
POCD at all. No way. No. I just meant that to me, as somebody who was testifying at the cell tower hearing, it was really glaring to read through the POCD and find that there really wasn't anything about emergency radio communications, which is such a big deal in town. So anyway, maybe we just weren't thinking about it. I don't know, but we will not let that pass up our town again this time. Okay. All right. So culverts.
Culverts.
Wendy and Lydia,
That was
right?
fun.
Yeah.
On a very cold day, we stood around and watched them analyze culverts.
Can
And
you give us a little more detail?
The culverts were built in 1937. They're in bad shape. They're designing replacements. I don't know. I think that they have the funding to go ahead and design, and I think that's what they're going ahead and doing. They don't have the funding to actually build them.
It was interesting to see, at least in the second culvert, that the stream had widened and created new land masses below downstream. As it came through the collapsing culvert, it has formed little islands beyond it. And I guess the culvert.
The culvert itself was in two pieces.
Yeah.
The stream had to split and go down two paths to go through the culvert and out the other side. Very
Yeah.
strange.
Mhm.
No wonder the poor fish can't handle it.
Yeah. So that's a main thing that they're trying to improve, I guess, the trout run and so on. But it
Now, what's the
seemed like
difference between the plan or the design that they have so far, the preliminary design, and the final design that they're going to do now?
I don't think we can
Because I
tell
thought
yet.
they had a preliminary design.
Well, I think
right?
it's going to take larger volume for one thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, how much more into detail do they have to go? Because
Oh,
they did
they
the
sent
design
all
already.
kinds of the specifications, the drawings. If you all want to see them, we can
The
forward those to
preliminary
you.
design, but they're still going to spend a lot more money doing in-depth designs. These are just preliminaries. We can send them around, right, Wendy? I've
Yeah.
got them.
I thought you
Yeah.
They
did.
sent them to us. We got
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Okay.
usually it's, they have like a half moon shape, instead of being circular, it's semicircular to make the bottom wider. They try to employ a more natural bottom, the design for the bottom of it
Yeah.
is designed to look like a stream, with rocks and different surfaces instead of.
That was very much what they described. Yeah. A natural bottom.
So do they want anything of us? I mean, is there anywhere for us to go with this?
It didn't seem to me that there was any, they're doing their own thing. I don't.
Yeah, and they
Did you
need to
have
do
any-
it, and I would trust HVA with their expertise to speak for us pretty well. No, I was glad I went, but
It
it
was
all
cold.
it clearly is something that needs to be done.
Are you asking if they might need a letter, Connie? Is that kind of where your train of thought is?
I had no idea. I don't know if it came up. I mean, it seems like it was interesting, and we're not really sure, where or if there's any place for us to go with it.
Yeah, we asked some questions, and there are a few trees that they're going to have to take down to make the shoulders approaching the culvert to hold it and hold the bank better.
But who
But-
eventually is going to pay? Where's the money going to come from once they have the designs?
It's a federal or state grant, I'm not sure, but it's the HVA will,
They're
You
not
know,
coming to us, Carol. They're
is
not
the
coming
engine.
to the
No,
town.
no. I'm just interested in seeing what they're doing, and that hopefully this will really happen. It would be great.
I think,
Oh, I don't-
towns have to get improvement grants. They have to, the best way to do it is to do it in conjunction with needed repairs. So like the best, I guess, potential is when culverts need to be replaced anyway because they've aged out or there are problems with flooding. And so, when there are problems with flooding and, you're talking about, something that's more of a road maintenance, issue, a built environment issue, to do this in tandem so that, you're doing it appropriately. But it's very, very costly, and it would be something that probably the town would have to apply for funding in order to do. One interesting thing that that they may be pursuing at HVA is they're looking at whether or not towns can do this together. And so in that way, save on some of the expenses associated with, just the administration of the procurement and getting the materials and getting the contractors. And so if, for example, 3 or 4 towns did a project at the same time, it could, in theory, be less expensive, but it's still going to be hella expensive. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we're talking about, quite a bit down the line when they have the design and they, have a better idea of what it would cost and, whether or not at that point the town might join in a grant application that we could then be supportive of.
But certainly Rick Osborne and
know-
the town crew were involved in the inspection and the conversation. So I guess they will do some of the work, not the major work, but they will be there for some of it.
Actually doing work, though?
I don't know what they'll do, whether they just have to prepare the road
I-
work.
And
will be
permits and
contracted out.
permits and stuff like that, I think. Donna, do you remember?
Yeah, they're gonna have to apply for inland wetland permits.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did talk to Mike and he had said they're not gonna be coming before inland wetlands until at least next December. And the whole idea is with this one meeting was to actually meet with the towns and see what the towns were feeling and getting the project what they called shovel ready so that they would be in compliance with the grant that they got to actually do the design. So the designs are done. They will need to be fine tuned based on what the DEEP was saying during the site visit. But Mike said, we're looking at a year, at best, it's going to be a year before they even think about doing anything. And Rick already has one of the culverts is already in the capital plan. It's bridge number 5.
Great.
And I'm not sure exactly where that is in the capital plan, but it's already in there. And he's hoping to be able to get a grant for some of the work that's going to have to be done. But the town's going to have to come up with it. And he's been having meetings with Mike. I think he first started meeting with Mike at least a year and a half ago when this whole project started. And that was when Rick went ahead and added at least bridge number 5, I think it is, which is the southern bridge on Fuller Mountain of the 2. So that's already in the capital plan.
Great.
I had one question. When we were seeing these 2 culverts, would they do them at the same time for just because it would be less expensive if you did them at the same time? In which case, Fuller Mountain Road would be non-functional.
I don't think that was ever addressed. It probably would be better for them to go ahead and do them at the same time.
Yeah, agreed.
Because either way, they're going to make Fuller Mountain Road impassable.
Yeah.
Well,
So they might just as well do them together, and the people on the south side will go down. The people on the north side would go up to Fuller Mountain and come back down.
And the people in the middle?
Or skip.
And the people in the middle?
Well, I mean, there weren't too many.
Yeah.
Well, there's the people of Appalachian would have to be able
Okay,
to
they could
leave
go
that
up that
open
way.
for the people.
All right.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Yep.
And they would be able to go up.
That's all. Okay.
Yeah. So.
The money that's in the capital budget, that's probably not enough to cover this version of the culvert, right? That was probably based on a simpler design.
No, I don't think so, because I
No?
think Rick put it in at the very first beginning conversations, and they knew what they were
Okay.
going to be in store for. And then I think he was hoping that they were going to be able to get a grant for some of the money.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's really more, Yost, that this is how it was done back then, and this is how it's being done now. And certainly water flow is different now than it was decades ago. I mean, our storm events are much more pronounced. And so, the designs of old are not working for anyone anymore. Not for the rich, not for the people.
And do you know if DEP makes this a priority and pushes that with the transportation department, the Connecticut Transportation Department, to provide grants?
I am not aware of that. I know that the DEP was there, Fisheries was there, HVA was there. There were a lot of people in bright yellow vests.
It's true.
To your point though, Yost, maybe coming out of the GC3, because of, the need, because of, storm events and the changing climate to replace culverts, maybe culverts that serve ecosystem services as well would be something that would, be more likely to receive funding in the future. We can always hope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so should we move on to Western Connecticut Clean Air Action?
Nothing much to report. We've had a long, all the equipment had to go back to be new sensors put in and so on. So we've had a little break in the collection of data, but basically we're just waiting on our consultants over at UConn to come up with some evaluation of what the data is showing them. So I have nothing more to report. And Carol, you may have more to say.
You're muted.
Oh, what do you got there?
There we go. No.
Oh,
It's status quo. I mean, we're
right.
everything's in progress. Nothing
Yeah.
major to report right now.
So I should let you guys know that during the select board meeting, which was like 4.5 hours long,
It was
I
crazy.
Oh,
end of it. I mean, after, you would think that people were tired of talking. But at the very tail end of it, one of the selectmen suddenly said, gee, this time last year, all I was hearing about was, the threat from the gas plant and, the need for air monitoring. And it was the need for air monitoring, the need. And now I haven't heard anything about that. Sort of
Well,
implying like, it didn't go anywhere, or, what a drama for nothing. I don't know. I don't want to put words in this.
I can guess.
But it wasn't said in the most friendly way. And I, again, because I'm not very good at just holding my tongue, jumped in and said, there has been a ton of activity around that. There's a whole group that is charged with overseeing it. They've done tremendous things, and I'm sure that they would be happy to provide a report to the Board of Selectmen if so asked. Nobody ever said,
Yeah.
if we support, if we get funding for the installation of the air
Well,
monitor,
fair enough. Yeah.
the results. So
Okay.
anyway, I think we should. I think that Western Clean Air Action might want to
Okay.
consider a letter,
Sure.
or even attending.
Thank you so much for speaking up.
Yeah.
I
Thank
was
you.
texting Connie not to say anything, and then someone said, "But Melissa and Connie are right there."
Yeah.
Connie's
No.
team.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure that folks knew that, it was not in any way flighty or, I mean,
Responsible. It was
Well, at the very least, we can bring them up to date on what the UConn is doing and who's in charge there and when they plan to have a report. We can certainly do that.
I think that would be welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do believe, I mean, at this point, I know that Jean is on our mailing list. I thought that Chris Carity was. I'll have to check, so that in our last update, I'll check, in fact, if that had gone to him. But in any case, I think it would be most appropriate if we, Wendy, if we then got back to them with kind of an update. Absolutely, we can take care of that.
It would be important to make sure all 3 selectmen are on that mailing list.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, hope your ears were burning. I defended that effort. Update on sustainable CT at that same meeting. So if you recall, and I recalled reading through our minutes that we adopted tonight, at our last meeting, Jean shared her intention to put before the select board the resolution for the town of Kent to participate in sustainable CT. And we asked her to modify it so it wasn't implying that the Conservation Commission would be in charge in any way of sustainable CT, but that instead we were, and this wasn't in the verbiage of the resolution, but we as a commission are more than happy to lend our support and to join in the town's efforts to work on sustainable CT. We just didn't want to be charged with being, the captain of it all. So, which Jean did. And at the, it must have been a special meeting, I think it was the day after our last meeting, right? The select board declined to adopt the resolution with some of the same concerns that we had, which was that the resolution mentions that a committee needs to be convened and meet within the first 3 months, and that there was a regular report due, I think, annually to the Sustainable CT. And so, our preference, and this is kind of the way the conversation went in the select board meeting as well, was that it would be good to have the buy-in from a number of committee members before putting the resolution forth to the town. So anyway, fast forward a couple of weeks, and at, I guess maybe it was last week's meeting, whenever the 4.5-hour meeting was, the subject came up again. And this time the select board was inclined not to press so hard on it and to just pass the resolution. So without it even being included in the agenda materials, they just said, yeah, whatever it said, we'll pass it, basically. And the town should participate in this. So they had come around to being fully supportive of Sustainable CT, and although the committee had yet to be convened, felt that it was important for the town to join this effort. So Kent is now formally one of the towns that is pursuing Sustainable CT. And I expect that we will be hearing from Jean about what we as the Conservation Commission can do to help in the initiative.
Connie, Sharon has a commission other than the Conservation Commission, which is the one that pursued the Green Bank. I think it's called the Energy and
and Environment.
Yeah.
It's a task force.
Apparently, and they seem to have it's populated by a number of people. Is the thought that we would then have such a group to just worry about those things?
I believe it's a task force, and therefore it's like a short term under the select people's purview, and tasked with a specific mission. And I think Cornwall has one also at this point.
If you recall, Kent had something like that, and we still have the legacy of the tan bags with the sunrise design on them.
Right.
The Kent Environmental and Energy Task Force, or something like that, for a while. It could work. There could even be a Sustainable CT task force. I think the instrument of it is not so much the problem as or I don't know if it's a problem.
I think it has to be.
They need the people now. They need the people.
So what did the resolution say that who is going to lead it? Did it say a committee instead of the Conservation Commission?
No, it just said that will be decided.
Yeah, it's not specific on who is on the committee.
So, but it's not mentioning the Conservation Commission anymore.
No,
correct.
Specifically, and but there's a 3-month period in which time a lot has to happen. So, did they talk about that? How to start that?
No, it was a really long meeting, and
well, maybe they can take it up next time.
4.5 hours. I mean, Connie wasn't making it up.
I'm surprised that it went forward, but I'm also, okay, good. So maybe now the committee will be convened and we'll make some progress on Sustainable CT.
And did the selectmen all know enough about Sustainable Connecticut? Do you think?
No, probably not.
I
but
think
Jean does. Jean does.
Yeah, I mean, I think they know what they need to know. I mean, this would not, it takes some time. There's an investment of, of human capital but the results are that you know a lot more about your municipality's sustainability in so many different areas, including ones that we as on the Conservation Commission care about very much, water and farms and open space. And, I mean, it's a good thing. It does take time.
Mhm.
So, if the people come forward, if enough people can be rounded up to work on this and we can be a part of it, then I think it could be a really good thing, and ultimately, potentially release some funds to work on addressing any gaps that, that might be discovered. So, anyway.
And thought does occur that the right people that come forward may also turn into our long-term alternates. We might discover people in this process of creating this other committee. So it's all good. It's just how it happens.
And I just hope that there's quick follow-up and that they're really working on getting a committee together, and instead of just passing a resolution and nothing happens. That'd be a shame.
Yeah, I think we all share that, but who knows? Who knows? A year from now, we could be
bronze certified.
Okay, so let's move on to new business. Oh, now that I'm looking at this, Carol, I see that you put Commissioner vacancies on, which was probably when we would have talked about Donna. I hadn't focused on that. But let's talk about John. Does everyone know this, that John Kaminsky passed away very unexpectedly on December 4th? And Carol was the one that alerted, I think, a number of us. Did you put everyone on that email, Carol?
Yeah, I send that to the whole commission.
I am so sorry. What a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that I didn't see it announced in other ways, Eventually I saw it on Facebook on the Kent community page, but but that doesn't mean that it wasn't announced. I hadn't.
No.
I came across the news at the post office.
Yeah.
So, and why do you think we should send a condolence letter?
I just feel that through the years that John's management of the transfer station, given what could be done for recycling, he was always very supportive and enthusiastic. He always made sure that the bottles were collected for the school. I mean, he always did a lot of things that were in line with our whole philosophy of the recycling. But specifically, he worked in concert with us on the litter cleanup every year. And that was something that we really appreciated anyway. We always thanked him. But I just think it would be nice for his family to hear from us that we recognize that and that we appreciate him.
I fully support that. I mean, every time that I had to go to John and make a request or start to talk to him about, like, oh, the Conservation Commission would like to set up a table, at the transfer station and interact with people about America Recycles Day. He was always extremely accommodating. I mean, it was, there was never.
He'd provide a table even.
Yeah. He was welcoming. And, he did, he took pride in his work, I believe, and was just friendly, to everyone. I support it as I would do it as an individual, but I also think that it is a good idea as something coming from our commission because we worked with him closely.
Yeah, I move that such an appreciation note be sent. And Carol, you seem to have the words ready to go there.
I'm really not good at this.
I think you are.
No, Connie, I would like the letter. I'd like you kind of said it well as well.
I'll write it.
If you don't mind, that'd be great.
I'm doing one for Donna. I'll do John's, and I will, send it on behalf of all of us from the commission.
Great.
And that would go to Joyce, to his wife. I wouldn't know who else to send it to. I mean,
I think
Well,
Joyce, yeah.
she'll share it with the family.
Okay.
Well, I would feel really good about that. And Connie, I appreciate if you would write it because you're good.
Okay, you did just, the way that you phrased it, Carol, was beautiful.
All
but
right,
I-
I'll tell you
I
what,
don't mind writing.
I'll send you a paragraph of the way I phrased that, and then you
Awesome.
can take it from
There
there,
we go.
okay?
There we go.
Love that.
Okay.
Love- Thank you. Okay, so we've got two more things, and then we can, go look out the window and see if the snow has started yet.
Yes, it started.
I heard a plow go through.
Well,
A
they're,
big plow went through.
Wow.
they're putting the blue salt. Wendy, run out and get some.
I
No,
know,
it's
I saw
scraping.
it.
It was scraping at this point, so something's coming down.
Yeah, no, it was coming down when I came back about 20 after 6.
Hey, okay. All right, well, anyway, we'll see.
Dusting.
We'll see what it looks like when we wake up in the morning, right? Commissioner vacancies, again, I think we talked about this, but think about who we might recruit to join us in our pursuits. And the last thing is,
One more thing. I was hoping somebody can think also about if they want to take over the secretary job. I'm taking the minutes.
Oh,
I've been
Yost,
doing it
no,
now for a number of years
no.
again, and I really like to get rid of it for a while.
I know, Yost, it takes you a lot. I know it's very labor intensive. It takes a lot of time to do it.
It does.
And I understand that, but you do it so well.
Yeah, well, thank you, but I still like to
If
get
we
rid
could
of it.
agree to have a one-page minutes.
You can make it
with
shorter.
less detail.
Well,
Especially since the
We
meetings
love his
are
detail.
available on Zoom.
I
exactly.
know, but
They're on
the
Zoom, there's,
detail,
like,
it
less
takes
of a
all the
need to be
time.
So detailed, Jose.
Try to write, in bullets and make it really brief. And if anyone feels that they need to, to dive deeper, they can check into our recording and watch it.
well.
I mean, Yost, your skill,
Does
Yost,
somebody else want to try that?
but Yost, your skill makes
No,
it so.
I think we're,
Makes it so perfect, but maybe you try to have more of a mindset of how good is good enough.
Carol,
Maybe
I
don't
think,
make it as good as you make it. You make it great. Maybe make it a little less great and make it easier for yourself.
I don't think that, I think Yost is a very careful technician and he does it his way. If you'll accept a much shorter version, I think it's fair to say thank you to him. And I mean, the last thing I want to do is take minutes, but I will do it next time if, I mean, I haven't written anything down today, so it just seems fair to let him take time out, use his talents just to help the Conservation Commission without writing notes.
So the plan would be, Wendy, that next month you would take them.
Yes,
Okay.
but
And then-
they were at no time should they be compared to his.
No, but I'll nag you of when to get them to me, because I always have to have them by, to get the meeting notice out and everything.
All right.
So you have to put up with my nagging.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
Yost, thank you, Yost, you do
Very
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you, Wendy.
Well, we may all live to regret this, but let's try.
Well, if
But you did it
Carol's
before.
What?
agendas
I've done
are
it
very.
before, but not well.
You've
Oh.
done it before, and they were more than enough then, and so I totally appreciate you stepping up to do it again. And I guess when when you reach the end of your rope, like you, then speak up again, so that someone else can take a turn.
Well, let's think in those terms when we look for alternates.
Exactly. We'll recruit a minute taker.
Right.
Okay, the Kent School water diversion deep permit for wells 1 and 2, which did everyone get that correspondence? Yeah. I mean, I feel like everything already happened.
Well, you sent it to everybody, and since you sent it, I didn't know if it's something we needed to know more about. I just put it on there to give you the option if it's something you wanted to include. But if it's already done, whatever, it won't be there next month.
Already done. I think it's already done.
Okay, fine.
I think that
I didn't know, so I just put it on.
the comment period, I think, told long ago, and
Okay.
yeah.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Actually, it came before Inland Wetlands because they got a copy of it as well. So I called them to find out what it was all about. And basically it was just the renewal of the permit that they had already had. There were no changes in the amount of water that they were going to be diverting. Everything is exactly the same. It's just the approval of another 10-year permit. And that's basically all it was. There was no comment. There were no changes. It was just the renewal of the existing permit that they already have.
Is the quality of the underground water they're using remains the same?
Yes.
No loss of purity or anything?
No.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's good.
Donna, did Wetlands have anything to say about it?
No, they didn't, because they really weren't aware of what it was for either. So that was why I ended up giving them a call. And I spoke to the woman and she said, it's basically, she apologized for everything being so late and they had gone past the time frame to begin with. They were going to be sending out the new notices, and that basically it was just a renewal and that there were absolutely no changes. It was more an administrative thing than anything else.
Okay.
So it's good for another 10 years.
All right. And by that time, either we won't be doing this anymore because we will have successfully recruited ourselves off of this commission, or we will certainly forget that we talked about it this time. So
I just wanted to just say one other thing that's not on the agenda, but I just wanted to point out that I'm so pleased with how the meetings go on Zoom. I know a lot of people are getting zoomed out with everything, but I'm feeling like the Zoom really works for us.
Yeah.
And I'm even thinking that when town hall is again available and we all feel safe enough to come in person, I would almost prefer to stay Zooming. So just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, it sure beats driving into town at night.
Right.
So.
And
Well,
we
it's
would have
pretty great
canceled
for
tonight.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Tonight would have been not fun to drive in.
I think
So
we've
I
all
just-
learned that this is
I
a
mean,
good
it's-
tool and that it works. I can't promise that we won't be meeting in person when we finally can again, but we can always have this as an alternative, which is really nice.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's actually up to us to make that decision. It's going to be whether meetings by Zoom are even legally allowed eventually.
We don't have to talk about it tonight. It was just sort of a thought that
So
really.
she wants to talk about it, see?
I want to have my dinner.
I would
What's
use
the
my
alternative for snow days?
Yes.
they still get the snow days. There's a snow day tomorrow.
Only
Really?
3 though, Connie. You're only allowed 3.
And probably next year there won't be any.
And then I just had one other question, just going backwards. So I'm not going to put on our agenda anything about the town's, the plan of development until we hear from, Donna, this is a question from you, until such point that you feel that you make it public and you want to reach out to the commissions, then we would hear from you. So we don't have to discuss that. Is that-
Right. What the commission asked me to do was just to send out a notice to all of the, for anybody that thought that they might want to go ahead and add anything to the plan of conservation and development, to just say, put your comments in a list form, send them to us so that when we get to that chapter, we will sit there and take all those into
So
consideration.
that when I hear from you, I'll put it back on our agenda.
I'm hoping to get it out next week.
Oh, okay,
I mean,
then
that-
it'll be on our agenda.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
that's my goal. So.
Okay, fine. Well, I'll put it on either way then, so we can start thinking.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
actually, to that task, if you all wouldn't mind in your spare time, taking a look at the POCD and reminding yourselves about what's in
Okay.
the last one, so that we can, be really mindful when we do get a chance to talk about
Okay,
it.
because I didn't get a sense of the timing before, but now I understand. But good.
Great. Well, I want my dinner too. Some people want a nap. Other people want to play with a dog. So,
I'm
why don't we
exhausted.
adjourn?
All of the above.
I wish you all healthy and safe holidays, and we'll see you all in the new year.
Okay, same to you all.
Yeah.
Yes. To
Three cheers.
everyone.
Very happy New Year.
Very nice.
Okay, dinner time.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Good night, Donna. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having